and live peacefully and honestly amongst others without being punished.
Police not like my sound, so I hide way under the ground. Better tell them I got a 9-2. They all are pigs or they are swine flu. Move.
Gotta run, Babylon protector, no chains can hold me. Mr. Arrestor, death or if they come and stay with the collector. All problems we have, we know selector.
And how much have you invested on this culture of legalizing marijuana in North America with your party?
Good question. Well, the party itself did never spend any money. What happened is I sold seeds to people all over around the world, and that's why the DEA has come to get me, and the Justice Department is extraditing me. The Canadian government may be compliant in this. We shall see in a very few days. But basically, from 1995 to 2005, I gave away $4 million to activist groups largely in the United States and Canada, largely in the United States, and also Europe, though. Like I remember we gave the New Zealand legalized marijuana party in 1999 $6,000. We gave the Israeli Green Leaf Party in 2003 $3,000. So, you know, so for various causes around the world, global marijuana marches, political party, ballot initiatives, Supreme Court challenges, we would provide lots of money to all these things. So while there was nothing in the 1980s, nothing at all, no demonstrations, no rallies, no activity, things only got worse. You know, with the Reagan Just Say No. Well, in the 1990s, you know, we reversed that. And with all the money we were giving out, we created hundreds of little groups that became very active and got larger, and some were very successful, so that now we have a dynamic worldwide movement everywhere. Whereas 20 years ago, there was nothing, simply nothing.
And how did you get into this? Like when you were involved, when you first started, what made you get into becoming the activist you are?
I've always been inspired by idealism. I read very young stories of explorers and people doing daring, heroic feats, and I always wondered how I could do that. I read a lot about science and people and philosophy and thinkers, and I grew up with comic books, Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. Spider-Man especially was very affecting to me. So I always had a heroic sensibility about the future. Also, I was quite convinced at a very young age that the only reason women would be interested in me if I was a very heroic person, right? Doing great feats of intellect or physical accomplishments or achievements, right? I thought that's why people fell in love, right? And I kind of liked the idea of falling in love, and I thought that would be the way to impress women, is to be really great at things, right? And now, as a teenager, I realized that wasn't true, by the way, right? I didn't have a date in all of high school, but all the women talked to me all the time as their best friend, right? Because I was such a smart, sensitive, understanding person, right? And so anyway, this is a bit of a tangent, but I grew up with a heroic sensibility, and then one day I read this book by Ayn Rand called Atlas Shrugged, and I read all her other books, and I said, this is the life I want to live. I want to be one of these characters in this book. So I looked around and I saw that the government was the enemy of the people, and I thought, how can I help the people who are being punished by these governments? And I did a lot of interesting things. The Two Live Crew you've mentioned. I opened my store on Sundays when it was illegal to do so, and I got put in jail many times, and then they finally struck down the law on Sunday shopping, and they got rid of that because I was making way too much noise, and then they never charged anybody with upsetting it again after the Two Live Crew. So, you know, I did many things in the 1980s that were very successful. So in 1990, you know, we started taking on the books and magazines that were banned about marijuana. And we were achieving that 5 years later in 1995. So I said, we now have to liberate all the people in jail. And it's taken a long time now. It's still 15 years, and there's still as many people in jail. But now the conflict is reaching a boiling point because there are 190 million people using marijuana. And we have political representation now almost everywhere in the world. And we have huge demonstrations. And we have expectations that in the modern era we will see change, because it's these old people that are keeping these prohibitions intact and punishing the younger people and the people with young thinking ideas. So I think now we see California wanting to legalize on the ballot this fall, and Oregon and Washington are doing it. And Nevada will be in 2011, Colorado in 2010. San Francisco has its own ballot initiative. Many states within the United States are passing medical marijuana laws. And what is most important is that the battle is being waged every day in the newspapers, in the media, everywhere in the world. In Argentina, the courts say it's no longer a crime. In Uruguay, they say 10 grams is okay. Brazil still has problems, but even they have Green Party representatives and people who are getting popularity who want to legalize marijuana. Even the former president of Brazil has joined with the former president of Mexico and other countries to say, we are just feeding these gangsters. If you make it illegal, we're feeding these gangsters. People want these drugs. That's human nature. It's a condition that cannot be rejected. So the problem we have in Canada is we have religious fundamentalists who are not accepting reality, who want to change our reality by force and compulsion and the power of the government. And it's kind of so backwards because in the modern era when we embrace diversity and tolerance, and we have a country in Canada with hundreds of different races and philosophies, then you really should never criminalize any peaceful, honest behavior. It's totally against the whole idea of a multicultural society based on the worth of man, right? And there should be no law that tells people what to do with their body, what you can eat or put in it, or drugs, or whatever you want to do with your body. It's your body, and you only have one life, and that's the end of the story. It's all about personal autonomy and liberty.
What is one of your favorite activism moments?
Well, I have many. Heckling John Walters, the drug czar, is probably my number one favorite because it had the biggest impact in a way. But the summer of legalization, the excitement and nervousness I felt each day, in fact I threw up each day if I thought I was going to get arrested and go to jail, because I never liked being in jail. And I've been arrested for my marijuana civil disobedience 25 times. And I've been put in jail on 20 occasions for those times. And that's a total actually of about 30 jails, just 20 occasions, right? You get moved around sometime. And then I've been raided 6 times, and they took $1 million worth of my things away in all these different raids. Sometimes I would not even be charged. They would just take things, and then it would be like in Central America. The secret police come, they kick the shit out of everybody, they take all your stuff, and then nothing happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the same here.
And we all know how you're being extradited to prison very soon to the United States.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But yes, that is. But the minister can say no, and the public pressure. For example, we received the report that the Minister of Justice, Rob Nicholson, receives from his own people. They write a report. Here's who Marc Emery is. Here's what our recommendation is. Here's what the law says. And they admitted that we get many letters, over 3,000 letters, saying, don't extradite Marc Emery, and here's all the reasons. And in 5 years, they have only got seven letters saying I should be extradited. I mean, that's pretty great, that only 7 people cared enough in 5 years to hate me, to want me in a U.S. federal penitentiary. But thousands and thousands of people wrote handwritten letters, and 12,000 people put a petition, and thousands of postcards have been sent, and every day they get 50 to 100 people calling on the phone all day long, every day for like years. So they know what the people want. So if they go against the people, I hope there will be a price to pay.
And tell us your opinion of the DEA and the plots of how government has done everything to lock you up, and the word conspiracy too.
Well, that's interesting because the Canadian government could have charged me in Canada for these things. I mean, it's illegal to sell seeds. It's just it's openly broken every day by hundreds of businesses across Canada have been selling seeds for up to a decade. But the thing is, the Canadian government, when they didn't want to charge me here because the judges like me, they know I don't hurt anybody, they give me a small fine, and they say, well, now the government says, well, this is not working, right? We need to get rid of this guy, we need to punish this guy, how can we do that? So the government works with the DEA and says, here's this guy, we're going to help you get information on him, you can use our policemen, you can help with them, you can work with them. And so from December 2002, the federal government in Ottawa, we have correspondence, is working with DEA and U.S. Justice Department and the Vancouver Police to get evidence to give to the Americans so that they will be able to get an indictment in an American courtroom that takes me from here to there and puts me away from life. I wouldn't even get a day in jail here, they put me away for life there. So then they said, yeah, that's good, we should work that way. So this government, both under the Liberals and the Conservatives, actively worked with Americans to extradite me and take me away from Canada. So, they're outsourcing not only our justice system, but the whole idea of jurisdiction, right? Because I did everything right here. We're talking about marijuana seeds from this desk going in the mail, right? And everybody does it. But because I was mouthy, because I gave millions of dollars to all those Americans to help them out, and people all over the world, and they're very good. And the DEA began to see this. I was on radio all the time saying, yeah, when you send me money, I give it away to all these people all around the world, and they're having this fight against the drug war, and they're participating in democracy, and we're making change happen. The DEA says, we've got to get rid of this guy. This guy is giving millions away. You take him down, and who cares about the rest, right? And that's exactly what's going on. And the current government is worse than the old government that started this, so I'm even have less hope. But you know what? Things are changing. My wife, she's a Green Party candidate in the federal election, and in British Columbia, the Green Party is at 18% and has a very good chance of influencing the outcome. So people have to take on our issue, right? The idea is politicians who speak about legalizing, like in England, will do well. Tomorrow there's an election in the United Kingdom, and the Liberal Democrats, they want to legalize marijuana and have it like Amsterdam. And I bet they will do very, very well tomorrow. And I hope they are the power brokers in the government, so they can say, listen, you want to be with us, you have to get electoral reform here, you have to consider decriminalizing marijuana and taking this out of the gangs, it's ridiculous, right? And they also are against militarization. They want to stop $100 billion in expenditure on submarines, you know, stupid submarines. Submarines can do nothing, right? I mean, if someone is attacking you, it's over, right? I mean, because they don't attack people anymore by boat. Right, that is over. Nobody's, you know, the Americans might put the aircraft carrier there, but basically, I think it's going to be a missile coming in, right? So the submarines, what point are they, right? So anyway, the Liberal Democrats in the United Kingdom have good ideas, and things like this are happening all over the world. I've really had a great career in civil disobedience, despite the fact that I may go to jail for 5 years any day now. And I would recommend it to anyone, because there is no greater thing than to dedicate your cause to freedom, to individual human autonomy, to the preservation of the autonomy and value of our own bodies and our own mind, our own right to be who we want to be.